Hey, welcome back. This is a follow-up episode. After I did the Werble demo showing how to animate photos, that ended up being iOS only. And a lot of people that were on Android asked me, well, how do I do this if I'm on Android or just in other methods? And this right here is a bit of a different way of doing it, but it works really, really well with anything that has water or fire or any elements, anything where there's like motion in the image that you can animate. I find it works really, really well. So I'm going to show you how to do this. And then I'll let you know that it works on a bunch of other images. Maybe in some future videos, if people want to see it, I'll do more images. This here is from an artist, Accents, on DeviantArt. And she made this after she watched a How It Should Have Ended episode for Frozen, which I think is just a really cool backstory. And so I'll link to that episode of How It Should Have Ended. And I'll link to the original artist's work as requested by her. She allows you to use her work as long as you credit her. And I think that's really cool because it's beautiful artwork. It looks really, really good on Dynaframe. But I did want to animate it to give it a little bit of motion. I mean, that's really something that really shines on Dynaframe, and you can see here it works really, really well. Now, it's actually very easy to do, so let's get into it. So what I've done is I've actually imported her image. I had screenshot it, and then I just cropped it. So here's the image here as a still. The first thing I want to do is animate these swirls here, and what we're going to do is hit this animate button. It's easier if you zoom in, is click path, and then follow the path here as closely as you can. And when you hit the play button, you'll get a sense of what that does there. That will actually animate that. Now, you can see her hand and her hair are starting to move and blur here. See that's blurring right there. So what we want to do is we actually want to stop any part of her from moving. So what I'll do is I'll hit this freeze button, and this tells it what you don't want to move. So you can kind of just draw that in. You can zoom in if you want to draw faster. And what I'm just going to do is kind of fill this in here so that her hair doesn't move, which is right next to that path. And you can see her hair is next to the ice. You're going to want to fill all of that in. So now we can see when we hit play, her hair is not moving. Her arm is still. We've got her hand here. I can actually freeze it live while it's playing so I can get a feel for what this is going to look like. So I'm just going to fill around the snow there. You don't have to be too exact with this. There we go. We've got our snow moving the way we want here. So what I'm going to do now is repeat this process of drawing arrows along the snow. Now her other hand is firing this way, so these arrows will go this way. And the arrows do matter because that's which way things get basically animated. So what I'm going to do here is there's two swirls, so I'll actually draw another one off of here. And I find that effect works really well as also. So if we draw another swirl here, now if you need to correct, you can hit remove, click on the line that you just drew, and it'll remove the entire line. There's not a way to actually edit the line, so you have to redraw it. And then I'm going to come down here and build this out as well. Now here I'm going to decide this is going to go this way. And then we're going to build this here. All right, and when we hit play, things are starting to look pretty good. It's a little bit swirly. So now what we can do is hit anchor, and we can tighten our animation up so that it only affects the snow. You see how that works there? And then over here, we don't want our hair moving, so I'm going to anchor her hair down. Sometimes it works if you just kind of draw a line along the outline. There we go. That's looking pretty good. So let's see. I've got this path here doesn't seem to be doing anything, so we got moving. So I'm going to redraw this path. I like the way this is looking sort of now. And I'm going to freeze this area here to just kind of straighten that up, and then we'll anchor. Now, the other thing you want to do is when you have an effect along something like this where you've got a nice hard line, you can just anchor right along that line. And that will help immensely. And now we'll hit play. We'll see how we're looking here. If you want to hide any of the parts, anything that's orange here, if you hit it, it will hide it. So now we've got everything hidden. I'll hit play and we'll see what we're looking like. All right, so my swirls here I'm liking. I like this here. This here I'm pretty happy with. There is a speed, so I can speed this up to make it a little bit more dynamic. Let's see what that looks like all the way up. So it looks a little bit too much for me, but something about there. That looks pretty good. Now I've got a little bit of coming up here, and I don't have anything coming off of here. So we're gonna take a look at what we've got going on here. This is swirling up. We're gonna take a path and just send it back down. And then we'll just anchor along there. All right, let's hide those anchors, see what we look like. Okay, now we're going to go back to freeze, and we'll just fill this in here. All right, so you can see how you just kind of iterate and add stuff to basically the motion and so on to kind of get to where you want to be. I'm liking this right now. I can always edit it later. You can always come back to this. So what we'll do next is we'll move on to, let's see, I'll add a little bit of anchors there. Take a look at her hand. Her hand's moving a little bit. There, that straightens that up. Just kind of anchoring anything that looks off right now. You can anchor or freeze. I find that anchoring is a little bit more organic, so that if I anchor near this stuff, then it allows this to be a lot more free-flowing, but it's up to you. Okay, now I feel like the snow is doing what I want. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to hit this back arrow. And this gives us our effect list on the bottom here. I'm going to go back to effects, so I'm going to turn that off. The next thing I want to do is overlays. So we're going to click overlay here. And this one's rain. I don't want that one. Smoke. Nope. This one's cool for fiery effects, and I'll do that in the next video probably. This one here is a free effect. See, there's no crown on this one. And it's kind of a snow effect. And what you can do is you can lower the opacity of it and make it a bit more subtle so it's not so overbearing. And I think that really brings everything together. When you've got the snow going and you've got this effect here on top of it, it's a really, really cool effect. This will make a great, great Dynaframe. So here, when I hit export, I can actually choose what I want to do as far as different crops. Now, if I have a 9x16 Dynaframe, I can click that and see what would get cropped off. I can decide to resize it later, or I can resize it now, keep the original or whatever. And I can decide the duration. So for Dynaframes, I like to typically do 30 seconds for my videos. And that way, if I decide to play the full video, it pretty much works with my slideshow. I typically keep them at 30 seconds for my stuff. You can also do it less if you want to do something like looping or something later. And then quality, let's see if it's going to let me export this at 1080p. Okay, and so I'm exporting at 1080p. This is all the free version of Motionleap. And now at the end of this, I'll have a file that I can pull off and put on my Dynaframe. So I'll show you what that looks like.